Last weekend, I shared with you some of the upgrades that I made to my 2004 Arctic Fox truck camper. I was at my nephew's place because it was raining out all weekend long. This week, the sun decided to come out. So now I got you at my house. I'm going to show you where the truck camper is parked all week long while I'm at work. We're going to go over a few more of the modifications that I've made to the truck, a couple of things I forgot, and then take care of some maintenance. We're going to start off on the inside of the camper. I think that's what most people like to see. But if you haven't seen part 1 tour video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin a comment down below. The link to that video will be in that comment. So definitely go check that out. This week, what I'm going to do is answer some of the questions that you've had for me to kind of go in depth a little bit more on some of the power upgrades that I've had. And then also, there's a couple of things that I just completely forgot to mention last week. You guys watch and you know this camper a little bit better than I do sometimes because you had questions about stuff that you've seen in the past that I never got to. So let's get going first with this power station and how I have it hooked up to my breaker box. This is my power station, the S2500. It's a 2000 watt hour power station, 2500 watt output. I've got the cable from the power station running up to the generator plug, and we can see it has power because the light's on. From the back of the plug, it runs to the breaker box, and it feeds this 30 amp breaker. Now I have 120 volts feeding all of the circuits in the camper. If I want to use the shore power, I turn on the main breaker, turn off my power station. Power station goes on, we do the opposite. What we want to make sure of is that I don't have the power station and the main turned on at the same time. Potentially what we could do is send 120 volts out to that shore power plug, which would be really dangerous. So just remember, there's a right way of doing this and then there's the wrong way of doing this. I'm not telling you that this here is the right way. What I'm telling you is that this is what I did. And if you want to have a power station in your camper, definitely go seek the advice from a professional. That is not me. I think what we'll do next is start under the sink because I'm going to show you a 3000 watt inverter that I installed a couple years back. Let me see if I can take you inside here. I picked up this unit off Craigslist probably 6 years ago. It's just a generic 3000 watt inverter. It is a modified sine wave, so it's not the best. I can turn it on off right here at the front. I also wired in this remote switch. That's right on the outside of the cupboard. This way I can turn it on and off without having to take the door out. That plug-in right there runs all the way out to the shore power, and that's how I plug it in. This plug right here goes through the wall into the inverter. This is my shore power plug. And now they're connected. I like the simplicity of this setup. It's an inverter hooked to my 2 house batteries. And as long as the house batteries have power, I can use my microwave or my air conditioner. The problem is, they just don't last that long. So what I did is I have a wire running from the dual house batteries all the way up to my truck, hooks to the 2 AGM batteries up there, and they are powered by the dual alternators. Now, if I want to run my air conditioner in here or my microwave, and say I'm in a parking lot and I just want to have lunch quick, well, I just start up the truck, and now the truck is going to be powering that inverter, make sure I have air conditioner. What I'm going to do is put you guys underneath the sink, pointing at the inverter, so you can see the wattage draw when I turn the air conditioner on. You guys can see right now the inverter, it's at 0 watts. Nothing's pulling from it. First, I'm going to turn on the fan. That's going to start drawing some power. Once the battery and alternator is used to the draw, I'm going to turn the compressor on. You guys are going to see a pretty significant spike at that time. So we're able to see the spike. I imagine it was pretty significant. Might even had a warning light come on. But I don't think we got anywhere close to overloading it because I can run the air conditioner and the coffee pot, no problems. I also leave this running long enough that the compressor cycles, kicks on and off. I've never had an issue with it. To show you how cold it's actually getting, let's take a look at that. So I'm going to use this temperature gauge, point it up through the AC. We'll see how cold this unit's getting. All right, so it looks like it's in the 40s, which means we're sitting about 30 degrees cooler than the outside air temperature. No, I don't have a DC to DC charger or any fancy electronics. It's a simple heavy gauge wire from the alternators up front to the camper in the back. And then they're separated with a solenoid. I've got the wire coming in from the alternator out to the camper, and it goes through a 135 amp fuse. I turn the solenoid on and off with the headlights in the truck. And that way I never have to worry about the camper batteries draining my truck. As soon as the truck shuts off, the lights shut off, and so does the connection between the truck and the camper. I've had a lot of people ask me if I'm running lithium batteries and then how much solar I've got. The camper came with 2 group size 24 flooded cell batteries. That's a pretty small battery. So last year I took this front faceplate off, I removed the sliding tray, and I put 2 large group size 31 AGM batteries in there. If you've never had to pull one of these doors off before, don't be too intimidated by it. It's pretty simple. Take the screws out. Behind the screws, you're going to find butyl tape and then silicone holding it on. We just want to pull this door away from the sidewall. Main thing is I don't want to bend this trim up at all. All right, now I'm going to clean this up really good. We're going to get all of this butyl tape off. Let's get these batteries in here. This truck from the factory comes with dual AGM batteries, so I thought, why not put the AGM batteries back here as well? That way my alternator can charge everything up properly. But what I don't have is a charging system that's capable of charging lithium batteries, and to be honest with you, the converter that I have in the camper doesn't charge these up properly either. I do notice these batteries last longer than the originals. Let's take a look at the solar panels. I've looked in my literature and I can't find what size this solar panel is. I'm guessing 50 watts by the size. It's not that big, but it's the factory panel that came on this camper 20 years ago. If you know, definitely let me know. I would like to add some more panels up here, but I don't know if that factory controller can handle any more than this right here. Whatever it is, it's a small one. The other thing that we'll talk about since I'm up here, the cell booster. You may remember I installed this thing a couple years back. So now we know that our antenna mast is going to work. This antenna is super, super light. I'm not adding any more wind load to this antenna than the big Winegard batwing that's already there, that's for sure. So we'll get this mounted up, and then the next step, drilling a hole through the roof. It's the high boost cell phone booster. It really does work and it comes in handy. Unfortunately, I left it standing upright one day and forgot to put it down. Pulled into a gas station, hit the antenna on a canopy, broke the setup. So now I've been using it just laying down and it still works fine. But what I think I'm going to do tomorrow is pull that antenna off and mount that mast just on a short little pipe and make it a stationary mount. Probably have it as tall as the air conditioner. Last week when I showed my sewer hose box, a few people said that they thought about doing the same thing. The only problem is this box was too tall. It was too tall for me originally as well. I forgot to mention, I cut this thing down. So the first thing I did when I bought this box, I just cut about 6 inches out of the middle. You can see I cut it all the way around here. And then I just sat this top piece on the bottom, bolted the two together. So there's bolts going all the way around the outside. And that's how this box is so short. And then to make it sit onto the carrier, that's pretty simple. I just mounted a piece of marine grade plywood to the bottom and screwed this box right to that. It's been on there for years. It hasn't gone anywhere. And the other thing that I totally forgot to mention, and someone reminded me, this little table that I have mounted on the ladder rack. This was a super simple install, really cheap. Let me show you how I did it. So I came to Walmart. I think I found a table that's gonna work better than that piece of wood. Check this out. Yep, I think that's gonna work a lot better. I'm gonna pick this up. Go over to Fleet, pick up the rest of the hardware. It's just a tabletop for a grill. You fold out the legs, it goes over a campfire. This is what we're gonna use to make that folding table. We're gonna use all of the material that they have. I'm gonna mount it right there, and then that's going to be the bracket that this folding table is gonna bolt to. It's like 100 degrees out today, so I just really want to get this done. So you guys, you'll be in fast forward mode most of the time. All right, you can see where I'm going with this. Stick with me now. We're gonna mock this up. You can see how the piano hinge is gonna work, and this is gonna fold up. This was a fun project. Plus, it didn't cost a lot of money, and it's something that I use all the time. If you watch the videos, you'll probably see there's a thermos that sits right here to keep the mosquitoes out of the camper. Anytime I'm loading up stuff or unloading stuff, I use this table all the time. From here, I think we're gonna head inside. I had a viewer ask me, what do I carry in my safety kit? I thought, that's a really good question. So I laid it all out on the table. This is just some of the basics. You'll see I carry a couple of different styles of Band-Aids, burn creams, some different ointments for bugs as well, a lot of gauzes, different toppers, tapes, scissors. These antiseptic wipes are a really good idea, along with some isopropyl alcohol. We carry tweezers, a lot of the basics, some dresser toppings. Ice packs are really important. I think that these are a good idea in everybody's med kit, along with either a quick clot or a bleed stop. Very important to have this. And speaking of that, tourniquet. I think that everybody should have a tourniquet. EpiPens, unfortunately, you have to have a prescription of these. It's amazing though, they're very expensive. I suggest if you have a family member or a loved one that has any severe allergic reactions, carry these, multiple ones of these, and even if they're expired, you should be carrying those. I think that everybody should have those in their med kit. I think that they should be more widely available to people. This is a life or death right there. This is just the basics. I'll let you take a look at it. Now, hopefully you'll never need anything that you see on this table. The main thing to remember is to stay calm and have a plan in place. Heavens knows, I've had my issues out there in the camper. Ooh, pro tip, watch the corners of your camper slides. I was just getting stuff ready for the bike ride, and I caught it good with my head. Oh, that's smart. Oh, yeah, that's a backbreaker. Those deer flies, they ate me alive, and I'll tell you what, the hands and the legs, that's one thing, but is my face starting to swell up a little bit? Insane. That outlet caught me right on the eyebrow. It's always something. Kind of turning into one of those weekends. I took a nasty spill on the bike, ended up scraping my leg. I didn't get any of it in video, also got my shoulder. Maybe that's what Larry meant by something's not right with that place. A little bit of sand on these steps will go a long way. Oofda. If you don't see a video Tuesday, call for a paramedic down to Gooseberry Falls, somewhere on the bottom. I think since we're here, might as well sit down, enjoy the view. I'm bleeding. Ice it. So now I'm going to explain some of the problems that I've been having. So this week's video is supposed to be a maintenance video, not a part 2 of my camper upgrades. What ended up happening was I got up on the roof and I noticed that I had some damage to the Eternabond tape. So I thought, no problem. That was going to be part of the video. I was going to put a new layer of Eternabond tape, put some Henrys over the top of everything, and I'd have a nice, new, fresh seal on the camper roof. The problem is I got off work the other day. I called up my buddy. He's got a YouTube channel, Square Body Truck Campers. And a couple of months ago, he took an old truck camper and tore it completely down and rebuilt the whole thing. If that's something that might interest you, definitely go check it out. Square Body Truck Camper. He's got a whole playlist. He spent months rebuilding this old camper.
If you're new to this channel, what we got here is a fully rebuilt 1977 Sunline truck camper. They got a whole playlist. Check it out. So that's what we got, and right now you're on the 55th part. The 55th part of this actual build. In the previous video, we got all of the corner trim installed and is done. So follow along as we get the rest of the things buttoned up before paint.
So I was kind of explaining to him some of the things that I was thinking about doing. And that's when he mentioned, well, are you going to be putting that Henry's right over the top of the Eternabond? And I thought, well, no, I don't think so, because I know that's not recommended. And he told me about this Eternabond product that's almost like a felt on one side. It's a paintable product. So that's what I'm going to do. You let me know what you think. I have the Eternabond tape. I could put that up there, then put Henry's over the top of it. He suggested, look at the Eternabond that has a paintable seal. The stuff that I have is that shiny top, and I'm afraid that the Henry's wouldn't stick to it. So no maintenance video this week, but we're not doing this again next week. We're getting back out in the woods. Toby and I, we're done with sitting at home on the weekends. I need to get back out into the woods. So next weekend, you're going to see a camping video. That will be coming up next Tuesday. I think this Tuesday, this video is in the bag. I think we got this done. Right, Toby? So we'll do the maintenance after work sometime. I won't bore you with another video of all of that stuff. I hope you enjoyed this 2-part camper tour video. We'll do this again next Tuesday. I think we should be back in the woods. Until then, be kind, be honest. We'll see you down the road. Right, Toby, you gonna say bye?